Of Carl. Today is a special video that I really wanted to talk about because I posted a tweet earlier this week that a lot of people commented on. Had like a lot to say about this, more than I thought I was going to expect. That because it's a little after the whole Lil Nas X video that kind of sparked this like idea in my head. With this whole devil hell video he made, and that led me to think because around that time I found out about like the Lucifer Netflix show part 2 to season 5 will be coming out in this May, and I'm looking forward to it. By the way, I love the show, but Tom Ellis as Lucifer is amazing. So is Mark Pellegrino, Supernatural, is great devil in his own right. But I thought, like, me loving like Deadliest Warrior and like Death Battle, I always wanted to know, and not like a fan vote kind of situation. I'm talking like a legit scientific, like research and everything like that between these two very different devils. If they were to fight, who will win between these two? And like, these are two very different devils, but so much of them like come from like the same pot, but kind of diverse. This is pretty much like same thing, like different versions of Batman or different versions of Spider-Man. This is like different versions of the devil in like TV format. And a lot of people ask, like, what about like something like Al Pacino in like what was that, The Devil's Advocate or something like that. But those are movies, and they're like usually one-off things. These two had like a long time to cultivate a fan base from these TV shows, and they had like significant amount of on-air appearance, and like we can explore and know the history in these respective shows, and gain some kind of knowledge of how their powers work and their weaknesses are. So I'm gonna go over like each of their respective powers in their own little respective universes, and like at the end, you guys can judge for yourselves. I can let you guys know what I scientifically would think. This is like me taking my bias out of it, because like I like them both for very different reasons, and it's like I want to see if I can just compare and just give my estimation on like who would edge out the other as far as like a fight. So of course, we'll start off with Mark Pellegrino's Supernatural Lucifer. Now, for some reason, I don't know if they updated the Supernatural. Oh, well, wait a minute, I'm goofy. It was on like they updated the wiki. I haven't been on this wiki page for years, but they definitely like updated some things. I thought it would be in the same page, but I found like the next page over about his powers and abilities. So, so go ahead, because he's like in the Supernatural universe, the Lucifer in this universe. Well, first and foremost, in both of these incarnations, they both say their age, which is 13.8. What was that? It was like billions or millions. Yeah, billions. I don't know why I say millions. Yeah, they both. And I'm looking on both of their wikis, the Supernatural wiki and the Lucifer wiki fandom, and they both say that each Lucifer is 13 billion years old. So they pretty much share the same birth date. But I'll go quickly over Mark's capabilities. Because like I could go over there a little history, but if you ever watched the TV show of Supernatural, basically, you know, around season 4, you know, Sam and Dean get into it. Sam inadvertently caused the apocalypse and caused Lucifer to rise. He became like an on again, off again villain through the respective seasons moving forward. But he was like one of the major big bads for such a long time. Every kind of like that, like their Joker, pretty much. Like Lucifer in this universe became like, you know, Sam and Dean's Joker. He always comes back in some form, and that they have to deal with. But he's like one of their most powerfulest enemies they ever had to deal with. Lord Tyranny, Omnipotence. He's the second oldest in this universe, towards Michael being the eldest. He was the bearer of the mark of Cain. I remember in like when after he was in the season when he was actually risen. At some point, there's like an episode where a bunch of pagan deities like Odin, what was that? You know, what was it? Odin, Zeus, other pagan gods of various religions came into this like motel to try to assess what to do about the whole apocalypse thing between that will be coming down between Michael and Lucifer. Lucifer came in halfway, or at least like almost halfway through the episode, and so easily snuffed out. At least not by like, usually like when it comes to lesser beings, he easily just snapped his fingers and they just explode, like nothing, which is like known for a lot of like upper echelon kind of beings as far as like power scaling. But he just decided to deal with them with bare hands. I mean, he like you know, caused like, it was like an elephant deity or something like that, just to by the wave of his hand just just splatter all over the hallway in like a burst of blood, and you know, crushing skulls and punching his hand through another being's chest. And only Kali, the deity Kali of Hindu religion, managed to escape through the fray thanks to Sam and Dean. But he went through those other respective gods of their own nature like they're nothing, which goes to show the powers of them. Because in this universe it makes sense, because God, Death, Michael, Lucifer, Raphael, and Gabriel are the most powerfulest beings, like at least up there as far as like power, because they were existed long before these other gods were even thought up, because they technically was thought up by human beings, like in retrospect, at a certain point in history at a critical juncture. Cosmic awareness, what was that? Not clairvoyance, but clairsentience. Even when weakened from having most of his grace extracted, he is still able to sense Jack's power, which is his son. Precognition, astral perception, localization, soul channeling and absorption, spell casting, angelic possession. But you know, he has to, just being an angel, angels have to be given permission to take possession of a body, unlike demons who can force their way in whenever they want to. This is part of their certain restrictions in this universe. Angels, especially archangels, have certain restrictions of what they can or cannot do by the laws of God's will in this universe. So in this universe, being still technically an angel, he has to gain permission to possess a body no matter what. He can't force his way in. He has immortality, invulnerability, except for things like angelic killing weapons like swords or bullets or holy water. You got regeneration, immunity from like all like diseases or illnesses. Astral projection, chronokinesis. He can travel back and forth in time if he want to. He can perform exorcisms, exorcise demons and send them back to hell by the snap of his fingers, which on most other cases, people had to use extra steps in order to extract demons from people's bodies. Power augmentation. Lucifer's presence on Earth greatly enhances the powers of Jesse Turner. This is like another character of Supernatural earlier seasons. Power granting. Lucifer stated that he gave the princes of hell their incredible powers when he created them himself. Telekinesis. Lucifer can generate earthquakes through his mere presence on Earth. Thermokinesis. He can alter temperatures drastically by a big degree. Like when one episode, on the final episode of season 4, during Swan Song, I think the title of the episode was, when Sam and Dean meet up with Lucifer, trying to trick him back into his cage, he just breathes on a glass window and it instantly freezes to an insane degree. Given when I played Dante's Inferno, the video game, which is on my YouTube channel, Talkative Carl, if you want to watch my entire walkthrough of that, in the last circle of hell is not fiery, it's just completely a frozen wasteland with his quote unquote true form, with freezing the entire area solid. It's just like a cold surface. So I guess it makes sense that he can easily change the temperature if he wants to like insane cold degrees. But he can also mess with the electricity field around him, causing lights to flicker when like in a certain area. He has a bit of pyrokinesis, obviously being the devil. Weather manipulation. He's a master hand-to-hand combatant. In this show, you see Lucifer fight hand-to-hand constantly. Usually he doesn't like to get his hands dirty unless he feels like it, or at least he's dealing with like those deities too, because they won't go down easily by a mere snap of fingers like he would normally. But well, I don't know 100% because he didn't necessarily show that fact. He just like decided to just get his hands dirty and just paint the walls with those pagan gods' blood, just like whatever. It's whatever to him. But you also see like his first pagan killing, when you enter the motel, he got like I don't know who I think it was not Boulder, it was like another, I think it was Norse deity. It was manning the front desk, and like Lucifer stared in his eyes. It was like parts of his face like slightly decaying, of the vessel's skin decaying, and he just looks at him and dead in the eye, just cold stare, and it's like, you pagans, you're worse than humans. And then he just with a flick of his wrist, twisted and snapped that. Well, I think he was like a demigod technically. He wasn't like up there like with Zeus or Odin, but he just like that. Moving on. So he can fly. He can heal. He has holy white light, being the light bringer. He of course exudes like extreme bright light more than any other angel. Biokinesis. Lucifer can manipulate the biological aspects of a creature, which he normally uses to inflict harm on his victims, such as to break bones and damage organs. He was able to kill a Secret Service agent by inducing a massive cerebral hemorrhage. Excuse me. Molecular combustion. Lucifer can kill lesser beings by rendering them down to their molecules. He was also make Ganesh. That was the elephant deity I was mentioning. He was able to make Ganesh explode in chunks of blood. Power negation. Lucifer can prevent lesser supernatural creatures from using their powers, as Baldur and Kali were unable to teleport either themselves or the Winchesters when they arrived at the hotel where they were conferring. So yeah, they couldn't escape by their normal means because Lucifer just nullifies powers as a skill. Like I almost forgot about that. Reality warping. Lucifer reminded Gabriel that he taught him everything he knew about his power, because Gabriel is famous in his TV show for using like reality warping abilities to change areas to suit his needs for fun. But in this universe, he learned that from his older brother Lucifer, how to do that. So he doesn't fall for his own tricks. Lucifer can resurrect, shapeshift, smiting. He can smite lord demons and angels and so forth. Sonic scream. Lucifer possessed such a powerful vocal cords that in a fit of rage he was capable of shouting so loud that it shook the entire Men of Letters bunker, made the Winchesters cover their ears in pain, and caused the Seraph Cassio to feel discomfort. Super speed, super stamina, super strength, being like the third created thing, or at least second to Michael as being created by God himself, because God was always there. So Michael, then Lucifer himself. So he's the technically second strongest being in the supernatural universe. Telekinesis, telepathy, empathy. Lucifer could read emotions of his vessel. Dream walking, mental projection, pathokinesis. Lucifer was able to cause Sam to feel calm, so he can lower the just cause people to just relax if he wanted to. Teleportation, apporting. Likewise, Lucifer can bring others to him. I learned a new word today. Apporting is pretty much teleporting is you moving yourself to another place. Apporting is moving others to you. I never knew that word. Master torturer. Lucifer is one of the foremost experts in torture, both physical and spiritual. He tortured Lilith's spirit to the point where he turned her into the original demon, and from there did the same to several other humans to create his own demon armies. His torture methods were so extreme and profound that the memories of it will haunt his victims years after the fact, and in some cases, such as Sam's, cause extreme hallucinations, mental shock, and could have potentially killed him. Voice mimicry, anger-induced empowerment, a unique trait to Lucifer specifically. When angered, Lucifer's strength and abilities become temporarily stronger. This was shown when he was depowered from his debilitated grace and was able to break free from powerful bindings and power negating spells that were previously keeping him restrained on two separate occasions. Okay. And so as far as like his weaknesses, to angel blades or angel sigils that could banish him, angels sigils that can depower him. So anything that's like angels that are weak to, he still is weak to, like Enochian seals that can banish him, or at least somewhat that can be depower him, or like Lucifer's cage that built by God that can pretty much keep him bind for many years. The Colt gun normally that can just pretty much kill anything is the bullet shoots at, but it only causes Lucifer to feel pain but doesn't kill him. Angel trap, holy oil that can burn him alive for a short time. The hand of God only can easily wipe him out if he wanted to. Certain magics can restrain him or paralyze him for a brief moment. Hyperbolic pulse generator. Sam uses the device with angel depower sigil against Lucifer to expel him from his vessel. Christian cross. Contact with the cross hurts Lucifer and burns his skin. And grace removal. So yeah, that's his ability. Now we shall go to Lucifer the next show, but I want to show you something. When Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer enhanced his power, I mean, his true visage wasn't shown on the show, but people who have seen it on the show described it as, I mean, because Lucifer in all canons is depicted as being like, because he was the light bringer, was supposed to be like the most beautiful amongst all angels by far. But given the fact that his fall from grace, his true visage was warped by his time in hell, to the point where it's so horrific that like characters like Sam or Rowena, who are the only two who actually seen, besides from like other archangels, or these angels, most angels in general, who can look in his face without, losing their minds, at least for the most part. I think definitely archangels can definitely look upon his face in the universe without losing their minds. But Sam and Rowena, being like a witch and like a human, respectively, saw that visage, and went like for months to years. It took them a while to just get out of that shock and the horrific. It jarred them to the point of probably would have given you a heart attack looking at it, because it's so horrific. Just probably like the polar opposite of what beautiful is in angel's mindset by their standards, and it can just probably just break your mind. So the most we saw is like his eyes going red, and and that's the extent of what on earthly bounds what you would probably see when he goes full devil force. So now with like their history is pretty much roughly the similar, but Lucifer in the Netflix show, Lucifer Morningstar. Now, keep in mind, this is also technically Lucifer of the DC universe vertical canon, because he had like a brief crossover with the CW DC universe when they had like a Crisis of Infinite Earths a couple of years back. No, it wasn't last year. A couple years back when they had like a crossover. So technically, I'm combining this in the Lucifer canon of the DC universe with the TV show, because they're running the same. So he got a little bit more history technically compared. If we're the way the show worked, and they canonize this, because if you see it on the show or a movie, it's canon. They didn't just briefly say it, because or at least like the creator didn't just say like, oh yeah, it's part of canon, because that normally does not count. If you see it on the show or TV or the movies, it's canon. So I consider it canon that he's the DC universe's Lucifer as well. So he was originally God's favorite angel, but unlike in the supernatural universe when like that Lucifer was cast out because he was jealous of mankind. Typically what you would expect from the story of Lucifer, that he was jealous of mankind, rebelled, and was cast out. And this version, roughly the same thing, but he was known as Samael, or the light bringer. Though eventually became better known as Lucifer, come to existence along with other angels along to the creation of the multiverse. He was the brightest and most powerful of all gods and angels. He saw to be God's favorite, and when Lucifer rebelled and led a vast rebellion with the plan to overthrow his father God, God cast him out of heaven, tasking him to be a ruler of hell and to punish the souls of deceased sinners for all eternity. So this is more of like a task rather than in other canons where it's like a punishment for Lucifer. This was like a task slash punishment in a way by this universe's God standards, which we only got like a snippet of, like, let's say it's part 2 of season 5. At the end of part 1, spoiler alert, by the way, God revealed himself, but we'll get more into that once part 2 comes up in a month. But yeah, so he was tasked to deal with hell for billions of years, gaining an incredibly fierce and notorious and terrifying reputation as the personification of evil, conceived in many cultures and religious traditions. It became known by many names and titles, including Devil, Satan, the Dark Lord, Prince of Lies, and the Lord of Temptation, Beelzebub. Before his first stay in Eden with Eve and Adam, Lucifer became the first, oldest, and best friend of Lilith, who had been banished to Eden because she refused to keep herself married to Adam, or banished out of Eden. Lilith was then kicked out of Eden by God and was replaced by Eve. When Lilith gave birth to her children, thousands of demons called the Lithim, which Magazine is one of the daughters, and best friend and bodyguard and loyal soldier to Lucifer. So eventually, if you read the Vertigo DC comics or watched the show, he eventually got tired of like dealing with billions of years of running hell. He locked it up, went up to Earth and started running a bar called Lux. And then eventually partnered up with Detective Decker, Chloe Decker, and started to help her solve crimes. And then, still in his own way, by his own choice, rather than being forced to task the job onto him like by his father, he decided to punish the guilty party on Earth the way he sees fit by his own choice. Because in this universe, angels has more free will, just like has as much free will and as like humans do in this universe, but there is a trade-off, which we'll get to in a moment. So that's a little difference there, where in supernatural universe, angels and archangels don't have free will compared to humans. So there's a bit more restriction. While in this universe, this version of God gave like angels a fair bit of free will, or leniency with free will, not compared to much as humans do, but there's some leeway with them in this universe. Okay, I'm going to the powers. Angel physiology, being one of the most powerful. Lucifer's has super strength, is able to go toe to toe against Michael and Amenadiel, who's supposed to be one of the best fighters in heaven. Super speed, super endurance, reflexes, dexterity, uh, immortality, invulnerability. Because I remember that in one episode in season 1, Chloe asked Lucifer what it was like being shot, and he just flicked her arm, and she's like, "Ow, yeah." Like, so it's like, to Lucifer, I guess being shot by a bullet would just feel like that to him, and just like a mosquito bite. Not really much to him. Accelerated metabolism. He's affected by mind altering substance or like drugs or alcohol or anything like that. Temptation inducement. Lucifer, being highly sexual, can easily make himself carnally irresistible to most women and men, which he sometimes uses to his advantage when he strikes deals with them. However, some select few, such as Chloe Decker, seem to be more resistant to this power, at least to an extent, as even she has some trouble hiding her attraction to Lucifer's naked body after first seeing it in Manly Whatnots episode. Although this may not be a result of any powers that Lucifer may possess, because Lucifer / the actor is legitimately like a seriously handsome dude, honestly, to be honest. Regenerative healing factor, his devil form, which is another difference. Even though like Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer in Supernatural probably does have a devil form, it is never seen, but in this version of the show of Lucifer, it is seen, several times, but you get to see it. But I'm imagining, just like with Supernatural, when people look at it, they lose their minds, they freak out, they like it overwhelms them with fear and just like shock. And it's like Lucifer is able to change his appearance into a form he refers to as devil form. This form varies along the seasons. It manifests in season 1 to 3. It manifests as like a red monster, scarred and burnt looking version of an angelic appearance. Hairless, fiery, blazing, monstrous red eyes, which terrifies mortals. He's able to push a mental image of this form into the minds of humans to terrify them, which is different from his physical manifestation of the form. He also can alter only his eyes to red, fiery orbs rather than his entire body, and possesses the ability to liberate his wings from what appears to be between his shoulder blades. Unlike the supernatural, you only see like normally when seeing angel wings and like casting like shadow, or if they killed, is like burnt to like ash when it's like spread out onto like the ground. And in season 4, his devil form was born out of his own self-loathing. So his own, unlike in Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer in hell, his time in hell slowly altered his appearance on his own. But in this universe, it's self-inducing, because since he has free will, he has some self-acknowledgement of some self-hatred that causes, like when like in all angels, like Amenadiel lost his powers because of some bit of self-loathing or self-hatred, causes to some psychological disability that he inflicted on his own self, which in Lucifer's case caused him to gain like a devil form vision, like a scarred, wart version of what his more angelic, beautiful face used to be. His devil form can petrify humans, demons, and other beings, though not angels, as they can easily look at his true form, as evident with Amenadiel. He can fly, resurrection, spiritual communication, Lucifer in this universe can easily communicate with spirits of the deceased as long as the death is fresh and they have not moved on yet. So he can easily gain information from deceased, like low lives, just so he can, like, get some information from them. Desire exhibition. Lucifer displays the ability to draw people's inner desires, akin to hypnosis, mind control, or telepathy, and by extension lower their inhibitions. Some scenes suggest that if he applies enough of this power, he can actively compel people to confess internal secrets, sins, and truths, but usually doesn't. So that's another difference between, because Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer cannot do that. His power, doesn't draw people's confessions in a way, or to constantly tell the truth, because that's, this Lucifer's thing. He doesn't lie no matter what. He does not lie. He refuses to lie. He probably avoids the truth, but if I'll ask, he will tell them, and people just might not believe it or think he's lying. Because, like, sometimes when you tell the truth, it's so hard to believe, people will think you're lying, kind of situation. Celestial communication. He can communicate with angelic beings like his siblings. Telekinesis. Demonic lordship. Being the devil, Lucifer has full in control over all demons, compared to Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer. Tom Ellis can complete control over demons, period. But Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer does not have that control. He can force people to do whatever he wants because he has all the power. But they cannot, unless they are completely committed to him, like Lilith and other heads of lords of hell of that universe. Other than them, who are completely loyal to him, he does not control them. He's a master hand-to-hand combat over the centuries. Just like with well, they both have extreme hand-to-hand combative skills, but I think Tom Ellis' Lucifer had enough time out of hell to learn skills of hand-to-hand combat if he had to deal with somebody who's not human, who normally he can just play around with because he knows he can easily beat them. But you dealing with someone like an angel, he learned over time how to deal with like hand-to-hand combat. But Mark Pellegrino Lucifer, he can fight. He spent too much time in his cage to properly cultivate some level of training. Master manipulator. I think they both do a fair bit of manipulating. Or I think Tom Ellis and Lucifer are extremely more skilled at it because he's been doing it for such a long time, and he just got that innate skill of his own. Skilled detective. Omnilingualism. He can speak any language, although he cannot read those kind of languages. Exceptional talent in the arts. Escapologist, which is something that I don't think Mark Pellegrino Lucifer ever had to do before without some kind of outside help, or at least some kind of extenuating circumstances that caused him to be able to escape. But he never he didn't have a kind of master of escaping. He's not a master escapologist, unlike Tom Ellis' Lucifer. So point for Tom Ellis. Faltitian deals. Lucifer frequently offers people deals with an unspecified favor to be paid back later. He doesn't deal with souls, unlike Mark Pellegrino, who I don't think he deals with souls either. He doesn't really care about that. Neither one of them really cares about human souls, but Mark Pellegrino does not care if he uses souls to power himself up by some means, or use some other outside source to power up so he can use that to his advantage to some extent. But Tom Ellis' version of Lucifer does not really deal with like souls. He thinks they're icky. As in episode 1 of the pilot, he mentions like that's dad's job. I don't really care about. I don't think I don't want to deal with that. It's icky to me, kind of situation. But he does deal with deals like Lucifer or many other demons would do. At least Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer deals with deals too, but he always reneges in some fashion or try to backstab you in some fashion without feeling like he quote unquote breaking his deal. But this Tom Ellis' version, when he makes a deal, he goes out of the way to make sure he honors his deal. He stay true to his promises, and he to a fault. But by polar opposite, if Tom Ellis's Lucifer is dealing with a person who's going back on their deal, he does not like that at all. He and I prayed, to the soul of whoever tried to go back on Tom Ellis's Lucifer's deals. Dimensional awareness, like I mentioned earlier, this is DC Universe's devil technically, so he will have the same kind of capabilities as that comic version. So on Crisis of Infinite Earths, Lucifer displayed some knowledge of the multiverse. When he met John Constantine, he was not happy to see him on his Earth again. And as far as weaknesses, banishing and killing demon daggers from hell can injure him, but I don't think it actually can full on kill him fatally. But no, let me retract that. That these blades can cause fatal injury to an angel and a demon. Later, Lucifer confirms that this is no exception, and that the blades forged from the fires of hell can kill him too. So that's another difference, because only angelic weapons or stuff in the supernatural universe can harm and potentially fatally kill Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer in that universe, while any other forms of weapons does not do dick to him. But this one, it looks like not only angel properties, but also some demonic weapons can harm Tom Ellis's Lucifer, apparently. Destroying or eradicating, so God and by mentioned by Lucifer's mother, God's capable of destroying him very easily, just like Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer can be easily killed by Chuck God, Chuck, who's the god of that supernatural universe, can easily wipe him out of existence if he wanted to. Psychological weakness, self-actualization. At the end of season 3, it's shown that, like all beings in creation, angels are also subjected to free will and self-judgment as mortals are. This manifests as psychosomatic changes in angels, such as Amenadiel losing his wings in season 2, Lucifer losing his devil face and regaining his angel wings in season 3, and Lucifer losing control of his demonic form later on. So he also got like a physical, in his human form, he's a 6'4", 6'4" tall, sexy, magnetic, charismatic, devilishly handsome, incredibly charming, dark-haired man with a model-like face and a muscular body. Lucifer often sports expensive dark suits. He also has a very sophisticated RP English accent, which people usually find very charming. However, no matter what visions Lucifer adopts, even his human one, he cannot hide his visible marks on his back, where Lucifer's immense angelic wings used to be before they were severed from his back. Lucifer's devil appearance consists of terrifying, monstrous red skin, blazing, fiery red eyes, gold teeth, and fingernail claws. He becomes hairless and appears to be burnt and scarred, with the shape of the skull being more distinct and many scar-like markings on his forehead. Lucifer gained his devil face because of his self-hatred and judged himself as a monster, causing him to gain a petrifying monstrous appearance. It's unknown what his true angelic form used to be. It was never shown. So yeah. So you want to just brace yourself if you haven't seen what his true form is. You never watched the show, which I highly do recommend the show. But spoiler alert, here it comes, his true devil face. If you look closely, I'll probably blow it up a little bit for you. This Tom Ellis versus true devil face. You can see the markings on top of his head. Don't know if this supposed to mean something or it's just something inflicted by some means while a certain stint in hell. But that's what he truly looks like underneath all that handsome. But yeah, I mean, there's some, I mentioned like the key differences here. And when I posted this on Twitter earlier in the week, a lot of people overwhelmingly sided with Mark Pellegrino's Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer over Tom Ellis's version, which is shocking to me. Now, like I said before, normally I probably would have agreed if we would have left out the whole DC combination of Tom Ellis's Devil and just concentrate on the TV show version. I can see Mark Pellegrino winning out in the fight. But speaking of Mark's Lucifer has a little extra abilities like angelic blast, which Tom Ellis's Lucifer doesn't do. He just raw physical strength and some telekinesis, which I think they both share some powers, but Mark Lucifer can time travel, and Tom Ellis's cannot. Mark knows magic. I think Tom does as well, but Tom Lucifer has probably far better experience as far as hand-to-hand combating people over Mark Lucifer, because Mark's been in the case for so long, up until a certain point in I forgot what year the season 4 Supernatural was, but up until that point in time, he hasn't spent that much time on Earth to learn anything like that. He just, it's kind of like Luke Cage in the Netflix show Luke Cage, where he got so much power, he can just punch, use brute force if he has to use hand-to-hand fighting. So that's what Mark pretty much does if he has to do that, if he doesn't rely on his telekinesis by any means. But Tom Ellis is much more a versatile fighter along with telekinesis. But it's just that I'm not sure if, because since they're both technically angels, I'm not sure if Mark's Lucifer, his angelic blast would affect Tom Ellis's Lucifer, because as far as their weakness is concerned, only Mark Lucifer is able to be hurt by angelic weapons, while Tom Lucifer is affected by a few demonic weapons along with angelic stuff. Matter of fact, no, let me go back here and re-look at this as far as because it's only demonic stuff, because they mentioned only demonic stuff affects him as part of his weaknesses. The Flaming Sword, Angel Blade, which is also part of the Flaming Sword, is said to be capable of completely eradicating angels. No heaven nor hell, and couldn't be. It's permanently so technically it was only average. I'm butchering the name. Azrael's blade, which is a flaming sword, similar to Michael in lore, the flaming sword of Michael, similarly, is technically an angel weapon. So angelic stuff can harm him. It wasn't explored if it's more than just the Azrael's blade can harm Tom Ellis's Lucifer, or just a specific angelic blade, or more than just that angel blade. But as far as like at least more heavily weapons can harm him, I'm assuming it could. If Azrael's blade is an angelic weapon too, it goes to show that both all forms of angelic weapons could harm him as well as God's power can wipe him from existence as well. So if like Mazikeen's daggers, force from hell, can fatally harm him as well, that's like a point against Tom, to be fair, because that's not similar. That's not a similar weakness that Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer has, where only heavenly weapons can harm him, like angelic blades or Enochian seals can banish him, and holy fire can burn him significantly but not kill him. Depending on what you do with it, it could possibly kill him, but that's not something that we see. Like we don't see like Tom Ellis's Lucifer being have to banish anywhere by certain seals or magics. So I don't know, to be, because leaving my bias out of it, because like I love them both. They're great interpretations of devils in their own right, and they approach it in like that role very differently. I don't know, because like if I do like extenuating research, because like I'm just going over their wikis and everything like that, and doing like a compare and contrast here. I think as far as like, because like if let's say, because like if you want to, because like technically Tom Ellis's Lucifer did wield Azrael's blade at least once. So you want to give it to him, that can possibly harm Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer, but because it's only angelic weapons that can harm him technically. And as far as like hand-to-hand fighting, I think Tom Ellis wins out on that end, because he had more time to cultivate that, because he wasn't trapped in hell as long as Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer. So he had time to go through things like the 40s and like he met like William Shakespeare and all this stuff. So like he had more time on Earth throughout history compared to Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer, who was trapped significantly in hell up until the point from the Garden of Eden. He was trapped from after that incident up to the point of modern day during the supernatural. So he wasn't in certain parts of history up to the point of like the mid 2000s in that TV show. So Tom Ellis is probably edged him out as far as fighting physically, but they both show cases of telekinesis. So as far as using that telekinesis, Lucifer is sometimes shown levitating and spinning a Pentecostal coin with his hand or finger gestures. As he says himself, he can also turn anything on, which is shown by various points when he turns cars, people, boats, and machinery on. So I don't know, because like it stands to reason that he can move bigger things than a coin and turn everything on. Because I'm pretty sure, like I've seen the show, I'm pretty sure I've seen him like several times move bigger objects with his mind. I don't think his desired power or a desire exhibition power can work on Mark Pellegrino's, because it doesn't work on people who has like a stronger will, which any version of Lucifer probably would have. They both can fly. I mean, his devil form doesn't really change his, doesn't up his ability like a Super Saiyan or anything like that. It's just the devil form that manifests to show more terror. But Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer, when he's angry, he have a brief increase in his natural known power. So they both can tempt, but I think Tom Ellis's tempting is a little bit more better. They both can heal rapidly. But Tom Ellis's, Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer can turn off powers, so I'm not sure if he can easily turn off Lucifer, Tom Ellis's Lucifer abilities like that either. But when he nullifies powers, it's usually lesser beings than him, and they both Lucifer in their own respective universes, so they own the, insofar as like tier list, they should be equal as far as like power scaling. So he's not a lesser demon, he's still a Lucifer. So I don't know if that nullification will work on him like that. If you're counting in the DC Universe's Vertigo comics, he do have some knowledge in magic, so that that will work in his favor too. If you're factoring in, like I say, just to conclude this, if you're factoring in the DC Comics canon with the TV show, Tom Ellis's Lucifer can easily beat Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer. But if you're taking that out of the play, which I don't think you should, because like everything has to be included, and even like the Supernatural has some comics, but I don't think Lucifer is ever in them. If you're factoring all that in, Tom Ellis's Lucifer would beat Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer. But I want to leave that into the comment section below, what you guys think, so far as if you're fans of the Supernatural TV show like I am, and fans of the Lucifer Netflix TV show as well, and you've seen both of them, or at least seen a fair bit of both of them, or even if one of the other, please leave a comment below and let me know what you guys think, who will outwit the other. I mean, you can have your biases, that's fine. It's nice to have healthy debates and what have you, but I don't know, man. I honestly do not know, because like I said, since technically with like the DC, other DC characters from the TV show crossing over with them briefly in 2 years ago, that confirms that he is the DC Vertigo canon Lucifer. So you gotta factor in the comics too. So like that adds more a bit to him. I won't go over like the comic stuff. You can easily look that up yourselves on the DC fandom Wikipedia, and you can go through the list of all the other extra stuff that I wasn't able to bring up about, like the Netflix Lucifer gallery of abilities. But I got to give it to Tom Ellis's Lucifer. We have to factor that in, from their initial inception when these TV shows started up till this point, and everything in between. So I love Mark Pellegrino's Lucifer. He was so much fun to watch on screen. and like every time he's on there, he's chewing up the scenery like nobody's business. Like, you know, but like I said, these are two vastly different Lucifers coming from the same melting pot, and they're approaching their jobs as the devil very differently. And in some cases, they got the same abilities, and in other cases, they don't. And also, as far as like X Factor is concerned, like, you know, like I said, uh, their version of gods is like vastly different. Where, like, if you've seen like the TV show Supernatural, you know how that all went with their version of God. Is yet to be seen how this version of God, because from what I've seen, seems more little Machiavellian as far as like how his plans work behind the scenes, as far as like, you know, God works in mysterious ways kind of stuff. But it seems good natured, and so far as like how he treats his children and everything like that, and like what you expect from what I you know, God to be. So and as far as like he doesn't treat Lucifer, his job is ruling hell, as a task. I mean, as like a punishment, it's a task with Tom Ellis' Lucifer, while Mark Pellegrino was actually a legit punishment for his rebellion. So yeah, but thank you all for joining me for this, and those who were on Twitter who left a comment and your thoughts on it, like, I respect it. I mean, like, I can't really fault you on your choice between the two, because I get it. I honestly do get it, and it's really tough for me to decide between these two, because these are the most long-standing Lucifer versions on TV, because you know, movie wise, there's only been like one stint from like various people or various actors who play the role on movie screens. But as far as like TV shows, these are the main two, and they've been around for so long. You get to know them better. You get to gauge their powers better, and their lore, and their like their mannerisms, their personality. You get to gauge all that to make a fair assessment and understand them. So, I mean, like I said, I'll leave you guys to make that choice for yourselves. I hope like maybe Death Battle can pick this up and see, like, with their, you know, vast equipment to, you know, and like you know their pedigree so far as like doing all this extensive research and like, you know, writing and all that process. Maybe they can like come to an actual legit conclusion of scientifically who would, and by, you know, hardcore research, who will win between these two versions of the devil. So thank you all for joining me. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And I will see you all next time. Peace.